The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
I am your host, Professor Jamie Lynn on ARM Radio. Super excited to have everybody here. Tonight, we are going to be talking about our tattoos, why or why not, with my beautiful, amazing co-host, Lynette. Lynette, please introduce.
All right. Hey, everybody. I am Lynette, a activist in the vaccine movement, causing problems, and it's about,
you girls were fine until you got live. You're both cutting out.
We're both cutting in and out?
Yeah, we're getting half sentences.
Yeah, I can't hear you at all, Lynette. Uh-oh. This technical difficulty. Nobody wants to hear tattoos.
Yeah, it's hard.
Alright, just try getting closer to the mics, maybe. That might make a difference.
Okay. I'm close to the mic. Are you close to your mic?
I think so. I'm pretty close now.
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay.
Alright. Try again, Lynette. Let's introduce.
Alright, guys. Alright, guys. So, I'm an activist for a bunch of different reasons.
Still cutting in and out. Am I cutting in and out?
Yep. You were.
I am?
You were. You're only doing one-word sentences now.
Uh-oh. So I'm only doing one-word sentences. Our Facebook Live is working fine, and we just seem to be having problems with the TeamSpeak. Lynette, through the Facebook Live. People watching, can you guys hear us?
If that's the case, then give me the a link at the end of the show for your Facebook.
Okay.
I'll use that audio instead. The only problem is it's painful for our people that are listening live on the radio.
It's painful for our people on Facebook Live, too. I think we're having a lot of pain today.
Well, the topic is tattoos, you guys.
The topic is tattoos. I can hear myself fine, guys. Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay, so, Lynette, I think it's your Wi-Fi or something's going on your end, because the guys can hear me fine.
Okay. It could be because you guys know I live out in the middle of the country, so it very well could be me. I'm in the very back in a concrete house, so it very well could be me. I'm doing the best I can. I do my show here every week from back here without an issue, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay, let's just keep plowing away and try.
All right. I see some of our buddies on Facebook. Can y'all hear us on Facebook, everybody? I think you can.
Yeah, we're being heard on Facebook, I think, and the guys in the studio can hear me. They just can't hear you through the production.
Yeah, that's weird. It's brand new headphones, too. I just bought these, man.
Okay, well, nonetheless, because the studio is going to have problems. If they're going to have problems, Facebook Live is working fine, so we'll just plug through, and then, they said they can give us the link.
All right.
So let's just
Okay, awesome.
Okay, awesome.
All right,
Our
sounds
tattoo
good.
sexy, why or why not?
Yeah,
tattoo
this
artist.
is a good topic. Yes, I worked a tattoo shop for a long time in Houston. I've got to say, it's definitely a touchy topic. Like for me, myself, everybody sees me. I have several tattoos, probably 40 plus. And, it's crazy because I'm married to a man who has 0. And he doesn't like tattoos. He knew me beforehand. So, he says, I love the woman underneath all of this, but with every tattoo, you cover more of your beauty. So, for me, I have that side of it where it's like, I love getting them. It's very therapeutic, but then the one person in the world whose opinion I care about of the way I look, not so big on tattoos. So, it's interesting. I mean, we all have, different things that get us through. And for me, this is very therapeutic. He doesn't shun me for getting them, but he doesn't really, there's no excitement for sure. I get excited about it. I love getting tattoos and I love showing them off. And so I have to know when I get home not to be overzealous and excited because he's just,
Well, a couple things on that, though. I mean, the most important thing is that we love ourselves. So if you love yourself and you love the artwork on yourself, then clearly that's most important. Then, yeah, of course, our significant others, and obviously he loves you because he married you. So clearly I would think that he's down with the tattoos and thinks it's sexy.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think maybe he doesn't want to admit it. Right. Oh my goodness. But yeah, he says he doesn't really see them anymore. So I guess after being with someone for a long time, you kind of just get used to the way they are anyway.
So the thing with tattoos, so being sexy or not, you know, myself in the professional world, I was always apprehensive to get tattoos that are visible. So most people never even in the professional world knew that I was heavily tattooed because I always get tattoos a place that aren't visual, at least on the arms or the neck, and I find that tattoos themselves are sexy, obviously, and I think that there is a gender difference in the location of where your tattoos are. So in my case, my tattoos are on my stomach and my thighs and my lower back, and it's in a artistic way for me that is in line with a lot of feng shui. And in regards to then the men, I mean, a lot of people find men that's hot, like when they have arm sleeves. There definitely is a depiction of where the tattoos are that I think people deem them, are they sexy or not?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I do actually find men with tattoos very attractive. I have to put that away now. but I mean, it's just one of those things. It's very interesting. I think everybody's different artwork tells a story, and it's kind of like, for me, it's mile markers, and it's some things that you've gone through and things you've been part of, and things you don't ever want to go through again. Like my guns on my hands, these represent a relationship I was in that was very abusive, and I decided that I never wanted to be in that again, and I had to find myself to never ever let myself be hit or be, taken advantage of. And this is my guns. And if you mess with me, you're going to get clocked with them. You know what I mean? So, I mean, they all have a different purpose, So, I mean, you never know why someone got them too. Them as memorial way and things like that. But to me, I think they're sexy because they all are part of your story. Everybody got it, mark something. Self is very healing and big and bonding even with your artist. You're sitting there with somebody who's leaning all up on you, sweating all over you. I mean, plasma exchanging. I mean, there's some stuff going on here. So, I
think what's important to talk about too, like you said, is why you get tattoos in the first place. And I think the why people get tattoos in the first place is the definition of why they're sexy. I think even at a most vulnerable, when some people get tattoos because they think they're cool, there is still an element to that that's attractive, that one could deem sexy because you love your body, you want to showcase something. Even if you're doing it to fit in, some people will do tattoos, especially but there's something attractive about that. I mean, then we can get into the conversation and like, why do women like bad boys? Why do women like guys with tattoos that are affiliated tattoos? So I think the point that I like is why people get them in the first place, and that in and of itself is sexy. You brought up that most of us get tattoos because of some significant. There's a lot of vulnerability in that. I think if we took a data analysis on the tattoos that most people get, as you described, is there's some depiction, some personality attached to the artwork that one got on the body.
Every one of mine, I have 40 plus, and every one of mine that I went through that I either didn't want to forget or that just meant something major. We're fighting in this vaccine movement. That's what this quote was for. Bible verse that says, "I broke the jaws of the wicked and snatched prey from his teeth." Hard knock life. That's because I was raised in a children's. Hate and pain, love and sex. I've had a crazy life. Different things I got for different reasons. But we've all just been there. So 30th birthday, I had a monstrous toothache. And I ended up getting a bird cage and a bird on my face, which everybody's like, oh my God, didn't that hurt on your temples? It felt amazing because that toothache was so bad that the tattoo took that pain away for a minute, you know? So when he finished, I was like, please don't be done. But, you know, we all get them for different reasons. It's like acupuncture or anything else. There's some kind of therapy to it. There's some kind of, for me, emotional. I have found I could meditate like the Buddhist people when I'm getting a tattoo. I'm serious. This took about 15 hours, and I just, you know, time to relax. I mean, I had grown men next to me getting their chest and who were flinching and freaking out. Like, how are you just laying there? It's like, man, this feels good. Leave me alone. You're messing up my flow.
Yeah. I got my first tattoo at 18, and mine was because my aunt was killed by a drunk driver. So when I went in to collect her things and look at her, you know, reminiscences of what was left in the physical world as she went on to cross to the other side, she had, you know, artwork. So I had tattooed on me at 18 years old her last art piece that she'd done. So there is a definite connection to tattoos that we get and the artwork that we get and why we get them. And oftentimes what I find interesting about them is they're sad. There's some correlation to at a level of emotional, obviously the pain. And then there's you know, you have celebratory tattoos on the very opposite end of the spectrum. You get couples celebrating each other, love for your mother or your father, a childbirth. You know, I see a lot of people that have those really children or their footprints from the kids. You get your children. I have my children, you know, tattooed on me as well. There's the autism puzzle pieces I have tattooed on me. Definitely want to talk to you a little bit off topic about that on the, you know, celebrating autism awareness, because, you know, here I am that has autism tattoos on me, and that's the name that they call our children is autism, and yet there's a paradox, there's an oxymoron coming full circle back to the paradox and the oxymoron, that there's some level of pain, level of celebration. There's definitely, I think, opposite ends of the spectrums of tattoos, either very heartfelt love and celebration or very angst behind them.
Yeah, I've got both, actually. I mean, I have some that mark things that were really, really bad that happened in my life, like I told you, and then I have some, I have my husband's name on my heart, only, you know, significant other or any person in the world outside of my children, you know, that I would put on my body, which everybody's like, oh, don't do that, which told people working in the shops 100,000 times to never do that, but, you know, got the little heart on my thumb when I got that done. I mean, you know, I'm in love because, you know, back in the day I thought, you know, I was all about peace. I mean, that's the funny thing. I got Mother Earth when I was probably like 18, you know, just all kinds of stuff that I got, and, you know, my life has changed so much since I started getting tattooed that, you know, I mean, my next tattoos are going to be the Resist Fist and Fear TV. You know what I'm saying? And they're, I mean, going to be little bitty ones inside my inner ear, actually, like up in the top of my ears, because I just need some therapy right now, honestly. And it, you know, it helps me feel better. It gives me more confidence, and it gives me more, takes more of my fear away, I think. Whether other people feel that way, I don't know. But for me, it's like, I don't know. I'm one of those people. I like to be in your face, and I like people to wonder what I'm up to and who in the heck I am and what I stand for. And if anything that's on me helps you get that picture a lot clearer, then that works for me.
I think that's amazing about you. I mean, in being humble or being, people looked at you and I side by side, right? And they made that initial judgment. They'd see me, they'd see you, and some form of judgment would take precedence in their mind simply due to tattoos. Their depiction of what's sexy and what's not would immediately cross into their mind, and yet there's more behind that. And in reality, you and I have been great friends offline, and you're so amazing and wonderful, and we're really one and the same. We look different. I chose to get my spots where nobody could see them unless I was in a bathing suit. I chose to wear those tattoos strong and proud, and I can only imagine the judgment that you get. I mean, I'm sure when people that sexy unless they're in that man or that woman in that niche market that really likes that out there, bold, in your face, badass, like I'm at it.
I've got it both ways too. I've been picked on. I've had men who have used it as a reason to come up and try to touch my body. Ooh, let me see this. And it's like, hey, you know what I mean? I've had times where I've walked by men of African American descent and they're like, man, that chick is gangster. So that always makes me chuckle to myself because I'm thinking, oh no, I'm not. You know what I mean? But if they think so, that's good for me. You never know though. I mean, but for me, it's like, it's funny. I have a friend named Deandra Foster. Love this woman to death. I used to live in a really horrible neighborhood, and we actually became friends because it came to a yard sale I had. And this woman told me, she said, you know what I love about you is you understand what we go through as minority. She said, I can't say that to many white people because they just really don't get it. And I'm like, huh? And I'm just sitting there like, what, girl? Like, don't, I don't even know what to say here. And she's like, no, I'm serious. So people look at you every day because of the colors of your skin, and they judge you. And they think you're less than, or they think you're not smart, or they think, whatever. And it's like, well, you know what? I mean, I never really thought about it that way, but I guess they kind of really do. But, excuse me, it's kept me from lots of jobs. Even offering to scoop poop for free at a kennel to help them out, they wouldn't let me do that. So, yeah.
And the judgment thing is really unfortunate, when people look at the way that we are judging the world, or the word minority itself, because the reality is we're all a minority. Once you get to know somebody and perform, you're a minority. It doesn't just come down to the color of your skin. Minority doesn't necessarily mean majority quantitatively, and I know quantitatively is a big word, but quantity, if you look at women, there's more women actually on the planet than men, and yet we're the minority when it comes to categories of job and the glass ceiling, and we're the minority when it does come to tattoos. If you quantitatively add up, has more tattoos. When you look at minority and socioeconomic, so who's making what? When you look at minority of disabled children, we're double whammied. So I always think it's unfortunate that people, I think that's the one magic wand, if we could do in this world, is just take away people's judgment about whatever you're harsh, wanting to just superficially judge somebody with your visual, because usually it's done by our vision, right? You see a woman, you see I love the stories of the multi-millionaires, very wealthy, and they're driving crappy cars. I know lots of people with lots of money that they'll stay in Motel 6s just because their value system of money on, and people don't realize either tattoos are expensive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, friend, I'm spending a lot of money on what I've got on my body. Just this center piece right here in the middle was, I think, $400. Each of these was $100 a piece. Yeah, I mean, the little butterfly was $70 or $80. I mean, it's crazy. I think $250 for this. Oh yeah, it's expensive, and some of them take minutes. So you got to think about that too. This person just made hundreds of dollars in minutes. It's like it's quite a lucrative business.
It is a lucrative. I just got Dominic, my son that's severely vaccine injured with a erroneous label diagnosis of autism. His saying is to infinity on. He loves Buzz Lightyear. And so in our family, we love you to infinity on. And I asked, how much that would be, and his minimum was $50. It literally took him. So when you calculate, the amount of resources that are going to work, and I have pieces on me that I've paid over $750 for it.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's good if you know the artist. I got lucky. I've done some trades for some work, so that kind of helps out if you know the artist, and working in shops. But, when you don't have it like that, it does get quite costly. And, it sucks though, because, it's there forever. That's one of the things I used to tell everybody too, is you want to make sure you do your research, you find the right artist, you watch them set up, you pay attention to what's in your ring, you do all of your homework the same way you did for anything else. And then you're going to walk out with a piece you appreciate. You want to look at their portfolio. So many people just walk in a shop like, I'm getting a tattoo today, and I don't care who does it. Here's a piece of paper. This is what I want. And they, that's it. They don't watch setup. They sit out in the waiting room. They don't pay attention to any of it. And so that part's how, tattoos go from being sexy to being raunchy, because you'll get infections, you'll get problems. And so it is smart, with anything else, it is like a medical procedure. You are wounding the skin. So it's very smart to make sure when you go somewhere to get this done, you're making
medical
sure
procedure.
that
I just think that's funny.
It is, though.
Medical procedure. Well, why don't you talk a little bit about that? So safety comes to getting tattoos for people that obviously are non-judgmental and support whether you get tattoos or not. I think it's very clear in this day and age. Judging somebody based off of whether they have tattoos or not just means that person is obviously a person with a mindset that comes from highly judgmental, a state of mind that I don't personally associate with people that come from a highly judgmental perspective. We can agree to a lot of different topics, but as long as you come from respect and love, that we all can agree to disagree, that's okay, right? So talk a little bit about when you decide to tattoo. I heard you speak a while back on
definitely
safety.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of shops, in a lot of different states, and for me, one of the main things is I will walk away. I don't care how bad I want a tattoo that day, how much I'm jonesing for one, because it is like you yearn for these things when you get them, and it does actually therapeutically help you. If it doesn't work that way for you, then you may not get what I'm talking about. But when I go in these places, the first thing I'm looking for is obviously a clean shop. Go in the bathrooms. That's always a telltale sign. If they can't even keep their bathroom clean, then I highly doubt they're really worried about what else they're doing within the shop. You need to look at countertops. You need to look at, every little thing around you. It may sound crazy or like minuscule, but you want this place to be clean.
It's like a health code violation.
Yeah. And a lot of these tattooers, they have clip cords that when they tattoo you, will be dragging across your body. If they don't have a wireless machine, they need to be putting they'll have like a bag. It looks like a sandwich bag, but it's this cord all the way down the cord. I've seen many artists who won't use those. I don't get tattooed by them because that cord has been drug against every other person's body and their plasma and all their liquids that are leaking before you. So you want to make sure their clip cord has a cover on it. You want to make sure that everything is wiped down, sterilized. You want to watch them open the needles. You want to watch them open and pour the inks. You want to just pay so much close attention. You also want to ask them, just like you ask for an insert for a vaccine, you want to ask them for the MSDS sheet. MSDS sheet is sheets for these different brands of ink, and they will tell you what is in their ink, and they will tell you what is not. So, like this is Fusion Ink. They are one of the better brands, in my opinion. And excuse me, but they let you know that they're free of preservative, free of carcinogenics, free of mutagenics, free of reprotoxic substances. They tell you all these things. They tell you their ingredients, and they're tested for heavy metals. And they tell you that a lot of these other inks, if you don't ask these questions and you don't look, your tattoo inks will come with aluminum, arsenic, beryllium, cobalt, chromium, nickel, lead, antimonium, selenium, titanium, mercury, chromium, and there's something in yellow inks, if they're not an organic ink, that if you go to have like a laser removal or even get under UV lights, they will go and release even more toxins into your system. So you really do have to pay a lot of attention. Make sure your tattoo artist is not using alcohol. You don't want any alcohol used, period. Witch hazel is the way to go. Alcohol opens your pores more and will actually take ink further into your bloodstream, and just need to think about these things. There's risk in anything that you're going to do that is going to do to your body, and your skin is your largest organ, so you want to respect it. You want to make sure you're doing it right. I have seen seriously people with staph infections so bad that they were pouring, like, I'm not exaggerating. Literally a gallon worth of stuff came out of this stuff. I'm not kidding, of pus and whatnot. It's no joke. You don't want to get an infection, so you always want to make sure you want a sexy tattoo. So make sure you go to the right place and you make sure they're clean and they're doing it the right way. And like I said, Fusion inks, Kurosumi, Painful Pleasure brand inks. These are good inks. You can see if your artist is willing to use. Have them already. Eternal ink. Some of theirs are all natural, and some of theirs I think are not. So you would have to actually read the bottle. But you can, as I said, ask for that MSD. That will help you a lot. It's like a vaccine insert.
That's interesting. I never even knew that about tattoos. I just I figured, like a lot of things that you hear, that it's safe, that, oh, don't worry about it, fine. So I didn't even know any of the information that.
Yeah, I mean, there's even formaldehyde in them, Jamie. There's there's stuff to add in a lot of these as carriers and as things to help disperse them and keep them from, becoming bacterial type things, because you don't, of course, refrigerate tattoo inks. They're just shelf for until you bottle. So these things in there to also help shelf life and bacteria from growing and whatnot, but these are not things you want in your body. Also, something a lot of people don't know. Everybody knows what Legos is. Lego plastic, little Legos. There's something called ABS plastic. That's what Legos are made from. Some of these tattoo inks are made from melted down ABS plastic. You can look it up. It really is true. And these are the really, really insanely vivid inks you'll see. And this stuff actually turns like calcified almost under your skin and becomes hard. Over time. It is not good for your body in any way, shape, or form, and it causes your body to want to constantly be in an immune response because it's such a foreign substance that should not be there.
Somebody just asked, Jamie, are you the lady that posted video about autism awareness? That is me.
That's my buddy Rita, too.
What's that?
That's one of my friends, Rita. She's an autism mom.
Hi, Rita.
Yeah, you see, I get where you're coming from on that, Jamie. I talked about that last April, and I gotta say, I told everybody, I'm calling this Autism Action Month. Get out and do something about it. People know it exists. It's time to do something about it, That's just the way I see it. I mean, I get where you're coming from.
Well, let's try and bring it in full circle, and we can interweave that, I'm gonna try and be. But so let's talk about what's sexy, right? So what defines sexy? And I think what defines sexy is people's truth. Correlate that to tattoos. Most people that have tattoos on them is a truth for them. I have always found it interesting when people that have devil tattoos on them, souls for the dead. And when I've asked them about that, their truth is so interesting, powerful. And so when it comes to the topics that we're often advocating for, about what's going on with autism, what's going on with vaccine awareness, kind of like truth with what's going on with the guns. I'm pro-gun. I'm would like reform in helping the people that are guns to hurt other people, because hurting other people comes in so many weapons. And so for me, I have found what's sexy is people, advocates, be brave enough to stand up against things that most people wouldn't. And whether you're pro-life, whatever that is. I mean, I get that these things are down to life or death. And interestingly enough, I think that that's what most people have a distorted view of sexy right now, where sexy is beautiful bombshell woman that looks like a Kardashian or a Pamela Anderson, whatever you're what's sexy, and people don't realize that sexy really is out.
It really is all on the inside, I'm telling you. I mean, I know women, I know women who are 400 plus pounds, and they're some of the people I know, because their personalities are absolutely gorgeous. And the way that they live their lives and how they treat people, they are the most beautiful souls I have ever seen. And I see them as more beautiful than the models and all the anorexic people and all the people who are, you need to be like this. You don't need to be like any certain thing. It's about being who you are. Obviously, I don't try to be like anybody but me. If people find me sexy, hey, that's cool. If they don't, that's cool too. I'm married, so I'm off the market. It doesn't matter to me. But, it's nice to have people think you look good, of course. I mean, who doesn't want people to think that? I mean, it's human nature, but I mean, we all have to be ourselves and be true to ourselves. And if you want to tattoo your somewhere no one can see and that makes you feel good, then do that. If you want to tattoo your forehead and it makes you feel good, then do that. I'm not one to judge anybody by the way they look, because I know we all have our own stories to tell, and we all, our own pain is what's worst to us. I can't feel your pain and know it true because I haven't been there. I can feel my pain and yours. So this therapy for me is completely different. This means something to me, and everybody out there has their own reasoning. I know you've been through a lot, and I know yours had a lot to do with therapy as well. Being an autism parent, I could cover my whole body from head to toe, shave my head, cover it, and I would not cover how much pain I feel from watching my child suffer. So I know you get that.
Yeah. Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I guess the point is that we all deem something as beautiful differently, but I think the most ultimate beauty, the highest level of beauty, is love, honor, and respect for each other. You're tattooed, or you're brown, or gay, or whatever it is that you are. I think that if that highest level of truth, honor, respect, and love for you, all of those things matter at the end of the day, but it's the issue of life or death. Then it becomes obviously this war that we see happening, life or death. And I wanted to bring up something interesting back to the topic about tattoos, is, and I can talk a little bit about it. Why is it that we find tattoos somewhat reinforcing at a pain level? So I know some of my friends, and even my own, we are all tattooed. My mom and I have matching tattoos. My daughter and I have matching tattoos for us when it comes. But we all don't necessarily like the feel of getting. Some they just suffer through the pain of tattoo because of the outcome. They want artwork on their body for life. Whether it's in a private place, like myself, I have always found it interesting. I'm not a tattoo person that gets them because I want other people to see. I'm actually the opposite end of this. Tattoos and nobody have them. And then, but that component, that running, people run, people will lift weights, people will overeat, people do drugs and alcohol, and why I think it's a fascinating topic is, why do we as a human engage in activities that bring us, and then that ultimate reality at the end is a positive reinforcement.
Right. Thought about it that way.
Yeah, that's how I've always thought about it. I mean, we can talk about the cutting phenomenon. We have so many different.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a component. Yes, I think of adrenaline when we're talking about neurotransmitters. I was going to bring up cutting. I have, over the years as a therapist, I have counseled that have engaged in cutting. There's a great book called Cutting. A lot of research on that is, why do people cut themselves? And there's a similarity to cutting and people will cut to get the reinforcement. There's mind, or human mind, that likes the reinforcement of the pain. And then they like to see the scar that kind of, from the spiritual or the inner our body that consequently results in something foundationally solid for them. And again, it applies the same. Then some people will cut. You'll see teenagers cut, and it's on their arms because they want reinforcement. So, in behavioral analysis, we have the 4 functions of behavior. We have attention seeking, access to something. All 4 of those functions of behavior that, doctors like Skinner, Pavlov, and Watson, and these founders have conceptualized, are why we applied across the board to everything. That's why I did my certification mostly for my son, but as I was doing that, understanding behavioral operants and analysis could apply to everything. Why we work, why we succeed, why we fail, why we get why do we do something? Why is it this way? So I think when it comes to tattoos, there's 2 sides of the fence. Some of us get the tattoo for our own internal gratification, and other people get it for external gratification, like you'll find other behavioral things that humans engage.
Yeah, and I'm very OCD, so I got my first one, and I realized it was therapeutic for me. There was just no stopping. But I got to say, on the topic you were just touching on, the cutter thing. Now, this is crazy. You just know. I was in Cracker Barrel, and this woman comes up to me. She's our waitress, and my teenage daughter is at the table with us. And this woman comes up, and she's like, "Oh, my God, I love your tattoos. You have so many." And she's talking about them, and she said, "I used to be a cutter until I found tattoos and was old enough, and then I stopped cutting and started getting tattoos." Well, the sad part to this woman's story is she then influenced my teen, who on the way home says, you know what, I think I'm a cutter, I just didn't know it. And I'm like, what? Laughed her off. Well, it took about 5 years to get my daughter to stop cutting her body after that. And she wouldn't do them in a lot of places where people could see. I'm talking like hundreds of small cuts all over her hips, her thighs, like everywhere. I mean, I would literally sneak in the bathroom while she's in the shower and pretend I have to use the restroom just to make sure she's not doing something while she was in there. And, at the time, she was up and on staying at her dad's, and, it was scary for me because they would get her on psych meds, and everybody knows where I stand on this stuff. So, this poor kid, I get her, she comes out here, she's here permanently for the past year, off all meds, has not cut herself, no anxiety attacks, no problems, no issues like that, and she's looking forward to the day she can get a tattoo, but I mean, it is one of those things where I think that for some people, maybe tattoos do replace cutting if, they feel like they have that need to do something or feel that kind of own pain. But I gotta tell you, I've tattooed myself, and heck to the no, my friend. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? There's no way I could zone out during that. That is so painful to do it to yourself. So I don't know how people do that really. Because like for me, you see me, I've got tons of tattoos. I did that tiny little skull on one of my birthdays for myself sitting in my bedroom, and I swear to God I was in tears, but I can sit through hours of somebody else doing it. So it's crazy to me though, that people can do that, and I don't, it's hard to understand. I could not do that to myself. I'm a big baby. If I stub my toe, I cry for 2 days.
Yeah, the cutting phenomena I've always found interesting. Like a lot of these psychiatric disorders that we've seen arise haven't existed. Now, what has existed throughout humanity, self-deprecation, opiate crisis that we have going on in our country with not just opiates but Adderall. Many people, I got addicted to Adderall from doctors prescribing that, and I can even call it an addiction, prescribing it and telling I was, following doctor's orders from technology I was having that was obviously discovered to be trauma that was being diagnosed and untreated. So we've, as a society and humanity, for whatever reason, I've talked about this when it comes to Darwin perspectives, hardcore Darwinisms, but we've always self-deprecated about certain animals, that they kill themselves or they patterns that are detrimental to their survival and their species. And so when we talk a lot about Darwinism, they talk about, survival of the fittest. Actually, interesting subjects, all of us, and just you do a poll amongst your friends, we all have engaged in self-destructive, something that really is damaging to the soul. It's very rare when you find somebody that doesn't have a pattern of behavior that's not self-destructive. So how does that tie into saying, as humans, with our spirit, we want to, live in a lifestyle that is beneficial to ourselves, to our spirit, to our soul, to our family, love and care about, and yet all of us have engaged some form of another of doing something to ourselves that's harmful. Our inner voice will talk to ourselves and beat ourselves up. Tell us I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
I can't cope. I can't handle. Got that inner voice in our head, and then we turn to external things that then, for whatever reason, might cut that voice off. Whether it's like the topic at hand, go to forms of cutting or drugs and alcohol, external substances or activities that kind of mask or allow us to cope with things that we're dealing with within our own head, within our own.
We seem to be our own worst enemy too. It's I tell my husband all the time, that's what's so crazy to me is, and people don't know your life, They see us, they see what we do, or whoever, they only see as much as you're going to give them, because nobody's going to show you the worst moments. No one's going to show you the hardest times, It's just not the way human nature is, at least from what I've, seen. And so, we're all thinking, one way, and you don't really understand, I don't think, so much what is underlying for everybody and what they're going through and why they are doing what they're doing, or getting they're getting, same with talking about tattoos, just a lot of people end up having so much inner things going on, And you and I have talked. We've had some conversations. We all have those moments, those days, those whatever. And it's nice to have something that makes you feel better. It's just, I think when you stop worrying about what everybody else thinks about it, it's a lot easier and more freeing. But I honestly got to say, I think you're absolutely gorgeous. And I think if you were covered in tattoos like me, it would take away from that. And I mean, seriously though, like, you're absolutely beautiful. So, like, I had to fix this up a little bit, girl. You don't need no help.
You're so sweet. Thank you. Like my no makeup challenge.
I like it. I don't wear it maybe twice a year. I'm the same way. My husband told me a long time ago, you don't need that to be beautiful. And I used to get up every day and wouldn't even leave my house and be wearing makeup. It's like, who the heck am I even wearing this for? It's horrible for my skin. And now that I don't wear it, my skin stays clear. Never have any kind of skin issues. All that kind of stuff. So I really like that. And I know that there's so much makeup out there. It's just as full of toxins as everything else. So,
to love yourself unconditionally. Yeah. How do we get to the place of self-acceptance of ourself? And despite whatever we go through or having to put on the makeup or a tattoo, any identification, it's all going to always funnel down to a place where we love ourselves. And that, as we talked about, is one of the most difficult challenges to do, is to take control of our own inner voice, our own spirit that drives us day in and out, and just say, I love me. No matter what I look like, no matter what weight you carry, whatever your baggage is, whatever you did yesterday isn't what you're doing today. Focused on, love for ourselves. And if you can get to that place and challenge yourself, so that's what I've been doing, is challenging myself and what can I do to learn to grow and self in an unconditional. So I think that's the ultimate form of sexy.
I agree. And owning it, I mean, why, just seeing that, to me, like I said, it doesn't matter what you look like. Yeah, owning it. Like, I mean, I love women who just know they're beautiful. It doesn't matter. Like, they just know it. You know what I mean? And to some people, they may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I just love that. I just love seeing someone who's so comfortable in their own skin and just owning that. Like, girl, I'm good looking, I mean, I just, and the humor in it too, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just a crazy person, but I always found that to be more attractive than, the people who actually really do know that they're just gorgeous. You get those GQ kind of people and your Barbie dolls. And, I've never really done very well because I get, I've had rough moments and whatnot growing up where I was picked on so much. And I remember thinking, I love all of you guys, and then so I finally just realized if I just be myself, they're not going to have a choice. I ended up being best friends with some of the cheerleaders, going to all their stuff, their parties, and I'm thinking, this is so weird. But I mean, it's because I didn't let the way that they were change who I was. I was still myself. I was that crazy class clown, just goofball, and they ended up liking me for me, and I didn't have to be one of the pretty girls or the prissy girls. You know what I mean?
It's so funny. I was talking to a friend of mine. I'm out here in San Diego and doing some work done. I think you saw my Facebook Live earlier with some friends of mine in the marketing space, but we were talking about, I said, I don't want to be like Al Bundy, for those of you that have married with children. But I was like, in high school, yeah. I was the class clown, and I literally was. If you go in my yearbook, and I think that's a very interesting topic about, bridging the gap between some regards tattoos, because if there is that form that we talked earlier about, attention seeking functions of behavior, access to something. So if you tie those behavioral functions together, when you're the class clown, again, we can see the thread throughout all of these that we're discussing, is that it's attention seeking. Funny, people are looking at me and then they like me, and so I get this reinforcement that I'm likable, and it turns off that inside voice in our head that maybe I'm not likable. And then in some forms, it takes away the pain. A lot of individuals, there's a high comorbidity occurrence with people that are overweight. They use humor, to or short, or whatever what people deem as a deficit. I'm not. I
used it. Yeah, I used it for group home. I mean, I was one of the kids that was called one of the orphans. I mean, everywhere we went in a bus, and everybody knew who we were, and we were all the Calvary kids, and I went through that from 4 to 18. So for me, that's kind of like I use the humor because I couldn't make friends any other way. If you were one of the popular kids, you were already against me. You were already making fun of me. Even my yearbooks have things signed in there about being an orphan and stuff. It's just ridiculous how people are. But for me, I was just the opposite. I didn't get down. I didn't get upset. I didn't let them get to me like that. Like, for me, it was like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good enough, and I don't care if you think so or not. And I ended up, I can't tell you how many people that knew me in middle school, high school, whatever, that still follow me to this day who tell me, you inspired me. You didn't care what people thought of you or whatever the case may be. They see me now and they're like, I would expect you to turn out looking like this, funny enough, because you never care what people thought of you. You were going to do you. And, that's just, I feel like everybody needs to find that freedom within themselves and not care about what anybody else thinks, because it's so freeing. Like, I love my life for that one reason. Yes, it's hard. Vaccine injury freaking sucks. Having to give my kid injections sucks. Going through what we go through, but I'm going to go through with a smile on my face because that's just who I am, and I'm going to find the positive in it. And, girl, I've already got whole sleeves planned out, and it may be attention-seeking on those because I've already got CDC, whistleblower, all kinds of stuff planned out for these sleeves.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But again, so what I always found interesting from a behavioral analysis perspective, because in the industry, got behavior analysis who see the world in one. I also have, a clinical license as a therapist, and then my PhD in psychology, and all these. I'm not throwing out credentials for attention, but just to give you a different twist on things. Our mind is a projection, right? It's like almost like the Matrix. Project things on, and so when you get neuroscience or you get into psychophysiology, it can go so much more beyond that. I just look at me, but there's a component.
Right.
What is the attention about? Like, what is the attention for? And it really will, again, funnel down to a coping strategy to feel. We all just want to feel better at the end of the day. We want to feel good. We want to have inner peace and love that you were talking about. So that attention.
Filling voids, too. Yeah.
Yeah, filling voids. But at the end of the day, it just really comes down to learning to love ourselves. Like, no matter what you look like, or you were talking about you were an orphan. I was raised by 2 gay women. That was unheard of, so, I always tell the infamous story. My maiden name is Lillo, and my nickname was Madildo. So I had to,
Girl.
so I was like, okay, you use humor to cope with that. And then when you use tattoos, there's something bonding about tattoos. Other people that have tattoos flock to each other, and that has morphed and changed time. Whether you're an orphan or whether you're raised by women or whatever, is tattoos used to be taboo, and now it's almost unheard of if you don't have a tattoo. And then if you look at the history of tribes and different locations, have been around since the beginning of man, and the rite of passage and marking yourself up to know what tribe you're from. So I think in the world of tattoos, back to are they sexy or not, I think the bigger question is, are they acceptable or not now? And I think we're coming. Everybody has. It's like any form of art. If you walk into an architectural home, you're going to get a sense of what is like. Or a retro type of style of artwork. Are they industrial? Are they Art Deco? Are they modern?
Right.
Are they Spanish? What type of? So I think there's look at tattoos from an artistic perspective, but also there's a component. Obviously, gangsters have certain forms. Now there's a common trend. You see a lot of the colorful ones, a lot of koi fish, a lot of flowers, the hipster movement. So different classifications. Are they acceptable? Because usually, we talked about this earlier, is people are like, no, they're not sexy. Then I don't understand that perspective, because it's sure they're sexy to somebody, or they're sexy to other people might find them sexy.
They're everywhere now. You see them. I was mind blown when I went in, when I had my last child, like over 2.5 years ago. The nurse at the counter had one right here on her neck, and I'm thinking, huh? You know what I mean? Like, I was shocked by that, because I couldn't get a job anywhere. And I'm thinking, you're at the hospital with a job now with one on your neck. I mean, anybody working in these grocery stores and places, they're covered in them now. I mean, it's just kind of trippy to me because it went, like, when I first started getting tattooed, I've only gotten one in probably the past 6 years, and I have over 40. When I first started getting them years and years ago, no women had tattoos. Everywhere I went, I was looked at like, you sleazy, skis, little whatever. Like, nobody looked at me like I was anything but a piece of crap. And, it's just now where I go out and everybody's like, oh my God, you look like, oh man, those are cool. Like, oh wow, you must really like pain or, whatever. But at least, you get a lot more positive feedback now as a female with them. But it is crazy to see this culture has changed so much. And I just looked it up the other day. It is actually getting to where more women are now getting them than men. So that kind of tripped me out.
I didn't know about those stats. Coming back to you, I remember when you first came on the scene for our movement and vaccine. I don't like to call it anti-vaccine. I like to call it vaccine awareness. But I remember seeing some posts. People are really, really a lot of bullying that goes on within our industry. I remember you being out there in your radio show and being forthright and just seeing the epitome of the vaccine mom. That doesn't have her crap together, and she's look at the physical component that goes on with you, and then they put that attachment. And there's so many beauties that come out, I think, of our movement. And well, if you're of that mindset, because it's still a pretty ugly, situation going on.
Yeah, I've got called trailer trash by people in the movement. I've gotten called, I can't even remember. Someone the other day posted something, and I got tagged in it because someone else wanted me to see it, and I just laugh at them. I don't even care. I'm not going to respond to this. Someone put, which gender is it? And put a picture of me. So, really? I birthed 5 different people. That's not possible if I'm not a female, in case y'all didn't know how this works. So, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just so crazy to me. It's like, haters are going to hate. It just means I'm doing something right. And, if people want to judge me by the way I look and they don't want to see my heart on the inside, then they can keep going and maybe someone else will speak to them. I can't reach everybody, so that's okay. Maybe somebody else is who they need to hear. But, for me, it's like, if they're going to judge me, then they can, it's okay. I'm not going to let anybody change the way that I see something or the way that I respond to it. They can act however they want to act. I'm just not going to let them change my behavior in response, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, stay as you are, Jamie. Thank you. Amen.
Right?
Amen. So, going back to, are they not sexy? So, let's talk a little bit about, are they not sexy? So, what do you think why would people say they are?
I think people say that a lot of times it does come from people kind of like me who get them in places like that, your face, your neck. People just don't like that. They find it to be, I've been literally told that I could not come in a place called Union Tavern in Texas because I have them on my neck. They said that means I'm a gangster and that I was not welcome in there. And I'm like, really? Like, what gang am I affiliated with? Look at my tattoo. What am I in the free?
Tyson in? Would they let Mike Tyson
right?
in?
You know what? I wish I was friends with him so we go together just to see how that worked out.
Go with Mike Tyson, see if
it's crazy though how they treat you. I mean, it's like, are you serious? And so I sent friends in there who were literally like from the shops I was working in, who were head to toe covered. Got the whiteout contacts. Crazy looking fellas in there, and they were telling them to get out and this and that, and it was like, the guys definitely, our shop made us think about it, and they ended up getting where they actually started letting people in like us because they didn't want to lose business because we had everybody boycotting their place. But you never know how people are going to react to those things. Like, I can't come in here and sit down and enjoy a drink and a meal because I have tattoos on my neck and face. I don't get it. And it doesn't matter what you look. I don't care if you're a dainty little female like me or if you're a big giant guy. It shouldn't matter. I mean, it's a form of expressing, something. It just doesn't make sense. There are a lot of places still like that. So funny to see, though.
I ask you, why get them on your neck and your face? What was the motive behind your neck and your face?
Okay. The motive behind my face was actually, I had spent about 10 years in a relationship where I was always being held down, always being like captive, like a bird. I wanted every person who ever met me to understand that would never ever be where I was at again. And so I got my open cage and my bird on my other side, and you know, people who, you know, anybody who knows me knows, you know, kind of what it's there for. But if they don't, they like to ask, and it helps me let them understand why I got it. But for me, it was a very freeing moment. I had been through a ton of abuse, and it was like, you are so much better than this. You know, you came through what you came through growing up. You came through, why let somebody rip you down like this and do this to you? So that was where the ones on my face came from. It was like finally setting my inner self free and taking flight and knowing that I was never going back in that cage. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it had to be somewhere that I saw it every single day when I looked in the mirror, so that I reminded myself never, ever again. And, you know, maybe I could have put it somewhere else to other people, but for me, that's where I wanted it. I wanted it right where I'm going to see it every time I look at myself. So that's why there. My neck.
I love that, because that is about taking your own power back. Let's see. Yeah. So on ARM Radio, wrap it up. We got 40 seconds. So I'm just going to.
Oh, goodness.
And I apologize to our listeners on ARM Radio. We had some finish up here on our Facebook Live, but on ARM Radio, you know, coming to the conclusion of Our Tattoo Sexy, Why or Why Not. I hope so appreciative of, I mean, obviously, end result for most of us is, of course, tattoos, as we're women that have lots of tattoos. And, right. and different on both ends of the spectrums. I have them where absolutely nobody can see them. She's just a girl and she's on fire. Right there where nobody can deny that. So thanks for joining us on Armed Radio. I'm your host, Professor Jean. Peace out, freedom to you guys all.
Awesome.